These are the most disturbing crimes that happen in the Super Mario community, and as the video goes on, things go from shocking to absolutely horrifying. In 2017, a forgotten speedrunner named Holy Moly posted a comment on YouTube bragging about a world record he'd held for 12 years. But when another speedrunner named Gothic Logic decided to verify his claim, he discovered something that would completely rewrite speedrunning history. The story begins in 2005, when a lot of Super Mario players were focused on smashing world records and getting their records recognized by Speed Demos Archive, or SDA, the biggest website for both speedrunning discussion and competition in the Super Mario community. A player named CreepyProduce was on top of the game at the time, with a record runtime of 20 minutes and 46 seconds. However, this record, as impressive as it was at the time, would soon be surpassed by CreepyProduce himself and a few other runners in the same year, although they only managed to beat it by a few seconds. This wasn't enough for most of the players, as they wanted to surpass the runtime by a significant gap, so they simply refused to submit their videos to SDA and kept playing to have a better record over and over again. But eventually, a speedrunner named Holy Moly would end up beating the world record speed with a time of 18 minutes and 59 seconds. But even though the community celebrated his achievement, Holy Moly's record was never officially recognized by the SDA, and this was because the speedrun gameplay video had an extremely poor quality. Still, he went ahead and uploaded the now deleted 2-part video on his YouTube channel, and for the next 12 years, the community accepted the record as genuine. But by 2017, most new players didn't even know who Holy Moly was, because they had witnessed many other outstanding performances that were well documented in their time, and slowly, both Holy Moly and his record faded into irrelevance. The next generation had their own heroes, like Cheese05, who dominated the 120-star category with a runtime of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 57 seconds. Under Cheese05's comment section, many people expressed how mind-blowing that was, with comments like, "This run will always be remembered, regardless of who gets the world record." But while almost every comment celebrated Cheese05, a particular person stood out in the comments, saying, "Yeah baby, you can play like Taz. Very impressive. Back in 2004, I had the 16-star world record for several years. Holy moly." This comment would quickly garner attention, as fans wondered who the commenter was, and what record he was referring to. And one user named Gothic Logic then got really invested, and started digging old forums and checking down archives, hoping to uncover the identity of this individual. And he found out that Holy Moly had 2 different videos on the 16-star speedrun, both of which have been watched over 130,000 times combined, and that in 2008, a well-respected player named Miles Buckram would beat the world record with a runtime of 17 minutes and 31 seconds, holding it down for 7 years after that. But it turned out that in 2015, another Super Mario 64 runner named Caves made a post on Twitter insinuating that Miles actually cheated, along with a picture showing that there was a cut in Miles' run, which meant that certain moves were spliced onto his run. For clarity, splicing in speedrunning is the act of recording segments of a run individually and then editing them into one video to create an illusion of a single run. This cheating method was very common back in the early 2000s, and with good editing skills, several videos were able to remain undetected for a long time, just like Miles' video, which was perceived as original for 7 years, but had now been exposed to be fake. Now, after the people called out Miles, it kickstarted conversations in the community across many platforms, and soon the controversy would spread to Reddit, where a user named DomDunk would make a post in the speedrun subreddit discussing the issue and ending the post with a call to action for every other speedrunner, saying, "I think this is another opportunity for everyone to take a step back and realize that anyone could be faking their runs. We always need to err on the side of caution when it comes to speedrun. No one is perfect or immune. Miles is one of the most trusted guys around in the early days of speedrun and was a pioneer in many games, but even he too fell victim to making splices. Hopefully Kai's will post more information to clarify things further, but the evidence seems pretty irrefutable. A bloody shame." And after he was confronted, Miles didn't deny it. Instead, he responded with a lengthy statement, saying, "Submitting the splice 16-star run to SDA was the most epically stupid action I've ever committed. I've never done anything of this evil magnitude before, and I will never again. I did upload 63 consecutive single-star world records from May 2007 to May 2008 for Super Mario 64, as mentioned. They were all legit, not that I expect anyone to believe that. There were reasons that I lost confidence in the integrity of Super Mario 64 competition and ultimately gave up on it. But there's something else I really need to say first." And after this line, everything Miles wrote became even more confusing. "I don't know whether it was a dream, vision, or something that actually happened, but God did light up the sky and speak to me. Then I became as large as the universe and hovered in blackness, seeing all the stars. This took place in the AM hours of January 23rd, 2003. Seems more like a dream/vision, doesn't it? That's fine. I'm willing to concede that after all these years." Immediately after deleting my forum account, I looked myself in the mirror and said, "These people do not have enough respect for you. Leave this place, become legendary, and cheat. Cheat in such a way that you become more and more legendary off the false video. Then return to this place, and maybe someday you can realize your goal of having your times removed." And as if that wasn't crazy and confusing enough, Miles proceeded to say he already knew it was time for him to come out clean after Kai's outed him, because God showed him a creature he called Antelope of Death, which also happened to be the title of his statement. At the end of this bizarre post, Miles would then go ahead to blame his cheating on his massive success by saying, "Cheating was still stupid and a sin at that
that I was wrong to do it. In no way do I condone my action, and I do not encourage anyone else to do the same. I felt bad joining this place on October 4th, 1998, but I did it anyway. I was contemplating checking out of this earth the whole time. I climbed the charts during the next few months. I could have been Martin McMullen. On May 31st, 1999, I became a Christian, and it saved me. I always wished I could have become a Christian first, because I never would have had any desire to join this place.
He then ended the post saying he was sorry for all of his deception, and although this was the end of Master's speedrunning career, his name can never be truly forgotten, not only because he cheated, but because out of the dozens of world records across multiple games, this was the only run Miles ever faked. However, after Master's case, speedrunners would start revisiting old records, looking for splices they'd missed, just like Gothic Logic, who took it upon himself to verify Holy Moly's record after his own comment, and to his and everyone's surprise, the record he boasted about was also very fake. While analyzing his videos, Gothic used the same method Kai's used to uncover Miles had cheated, and found several inconsistencies in it, like unnecessary jumps, audio cuts, and glitches. Gothic then shared several pictures of every point that were not adding up. In one frame, Mario's position suddenly jumped. In another, the timer skipped forward, and somewhere in the middle of the video, you could hear the background music cut off abruptly. And from that moment on, Holy Moly, who'd been greatly respected for his achievement, at least by those who still remembered him, became an object of ridicule. And this made members of the community wonder if he'd gotten away with cheating forever, if he'd simply chosen to remain silent instead of boasting with a fake record. Now, after snitching on himself, Holy Moly tried to delete the comment where he'd bragged about his achievement, and then vanished from the internet. But it was already too late, as the comment had already been archived, frozen in time forever. And although Holy Moly destroyed his own legacy with one comment, he didn't actually hurt anyone. But in this next case, someone actually got harmed.
There's something awful in the Mario 64 machinima community, and it's been secretly plaguing the community for over a decade.
Back in 2012, when the character Starman 3 was introduced into SMG4, a popular YouTube channel and animated comedy series, it instantly became a fan favorite. But what fans of Starman 3 didn't know was that their most beloved character would become associated with a massive scandal less than a decade later. On July 1st, 2020, a tweet longer posted by a user named Mystic Farron would rock the Super Mario community, calling out Jacob Ward, the person behind the Starman 3 character, who was also a veteran of the Mario 64 community and leader of the YouTube Rangers, a group of Super Mario content creators and fans on YouTube. The tweet longer detailed Mystic's horrible experience with Starman 3 while she was still very young. Unfortunately, the details of this post have been lost to time. However, at the time of the release, the tweet longer reportedly gained over 1,000 likes and more than 500 retweets, making Starman 3 one of the biggest topics in the community. And while everyone was trying to make sense of everything said by Mystic in the post, another user named Cobalt Scout would release fresh allegations on July 2nd, 2020, saying,
"Now that Starman 3 is starting to become more relevant for, let's just say, not safe for work reasons, I think it's time that I come out with my own story about my past experiences with this insane, predatory man-child."
Cobalt's thread started with how he ventured into the SMG4 community in 2012 as a naive younger human, and how he met Starman 3, who was 23 years old at the time, in a XAT chat room for the YouTube Rangers. Cobalt was happy to find Starman 3 in the group and made it his goal to become relevant, so Starman 3 would notice him. However, as the chat grew larger, Starman 3 started acting strangely by banning people without stating reasons, and instructing other group members to report and block anyone who disagreed with his opinions. In addition to that, Starman 3 started demanding creative control over everyone's content, and would even get upset whenever the group members didn't make him the hero of their videos. This behavior made some users like Cobalt a little uncomfortable. However, what they didn't know was that things were only going to get worse from there. Soon, Cobalt managed to get Starman 3's attention, and they started having conversations in private chat. And it all started with Starman 3 asking Cobalt for a roleplay, saying,
"You seem cool, so let's roleplay together. You as my Quilava."
Cobalt didn't think much of that offer, because roleplaying was a common thing in the community, and to make things better, it would be with his favorite SMG4 character. But soon, Starman 3 actually started to request more NSFW roleplays in a private server, and it got so bad and so repeated that Cobalt had to go away from his computer sometimes so that his mom wouldn't see what was going on. However, being careful to not get caught doing inappropriate things meant that Cobalt was not always available for roleplay, which made Starman 3 get upset, leading to texts like this one, where Starman 3 told Cobalt,
"You hate me, that's why you're ignoring me."
Feeling pressured, Cobalt then started roleplaying with Starman 3 every day, but he still found excuses to leave the chat room early as to not get caught. But the more they roleplayed, the more intimate things got between them, until one fateful day when Starman 3 made a disturbing request, saying,
"I want to see your lower body part on camera while doing stuff to yourself."
And although Cobalt agreed to grant some of Starman 3's requests, he refused to do that, and instead lied to Starman, saying he didn't have a camera. At the time, Cobalt believed that he was the only one Starman 3 was being intimate with, but he would soon find out that Starman 3 had his eyes on other younger humans in the group, and this became apparent when one of Cobalt's friends, named Copass Truepass, was suddenly banned from the chat room. Now confused, Cobalt reached out to Copass to ask him why he got banned, but Copass simply didn't respond, so he turned to Starman 3, who told him that he got banned because he was being a troll. However, not long after that, Cobalt claimed to have discovered that Copass, who was also a smaller human, human was being taken advantage of by Starman 3. And when Kopez simply couldn't take it any longer, he stood up to Starman 3 by refusing to grant his requests and also confronting him, which resulted in his ban from the chat room. And just when Kopez thought he'd seen it all, he found out that another smaller human, who was also his friend, was showing himself on camera, even performing certain acts whenever Starman 3 asked him to. After finding out about all of this, Kopez also stood up to him and told him how uncomfortable he'd been, but immediately Starman 3 simply labeled Kopez as a dangerous troll and asked other members to cut contact with him afterwards, just like he did with Kopez. And at the end of the post, Kopez simply asked that no one defend or support Starman 3. And although Kopez's tweet got less attention than Mystic's original post, some people would notice it, and it soon became a topic of discussion within the community, so much so that other victims of Starman 3 also came out to share their experiences with it. On July 3rd, 2020, another user named Wally tweeted,
"Might as well share my personal story with Starman 3 since everyone is doing this."
This story then started with how Wally decided to join the XAT chat room. There, he met Starman 3, who seemed friendly at first, but when the XAT chat room started dying, Wally decided to contact Starman 3 on Skype, and this is when the two became close. On the app, Wally shared his arts, edits, and recolors of his forms with Starman 3, but things soon changed when Starman 3 suddenly wanted to roleplay with him. While Wally agreed to a simple roleplay, he quickly realized that what Starman 3 wanted was not the regular interaction, as he would start calling Wally his Yoshi boyfriend and constantly made everything about the roleplay intimate. Wally then devised a means to end the inappropriate roleplay by pretending to enjoy the conversation at first, and then later said to Starman 3,
"Stabs the hole in your Yoshi belly."
Now this got Starman 3 really upset, so much so that he cried and blocked Wally on Skype. This was because Wally just killed Starman's roleplay character and ended the scenario that had barely been started. And on seeing that he was blocked, Wally made it a mission to spread hate about Starman 3 by portraying his character negatively in one of his videos. And in response to that, Starman 3 decided to unblock him on Skype and asked Wally to stop bullying him. But he didn't stop, admitting to driving Starman 3 into a massive breakdown with the hopes he would realize that what he was doing was wrong. But instead, he simply blocked Wally once again. This was the end of Wally's story. But some hours later, on the same day, another user named DragonDY would release screenshots of evidence against Starman 3, whom he met when he was also a smaller human. From the first screenshot, Starman 3 can be seen telling Dragon he loves him. And while that's weird enough, Starman 3 would take things up a notch by being very specific in his next message, leading to an increasingly manipulative conversation.
Here's the question, but you gotta be honest. Do you think you love me more than anything in the world? I love all of my friends and family more than anything else. No, I mean, am I special to you? Yes. Oh, you're sweet.
But even after he got the response he wanted out of Dragon, Starman 3 simply kept pushing for more by asking if his heart belonged to him and telling Dragon that he loves him over and over. On the same day, he made Dragon share a kiss with him in a roleplay, and afterwards asked him how the kiss made him feel. Dragon then told him that he was a bit shy with everything they'd done, but Starman 3 didn't interpret that as being uncomfortable. Instead, he saw it as a cute vulnerability. And then, the next minute, Starman 3 decided to make the situation even worse by forcing Dragon to say certain disturbing things against his own will.
Hugs. Let it all out. I know you're a bit shy, but try to fight it out. To say something to me. I don't think I'm ready. I love you, Dragon. I love you too. You're a great bro. Well, I kissed you, but it's more than a bro. Yeah, we both have feelings for each other, which is cute.
Starman 3 didn't allow any chance to confess his love for Dragon's side. Even when Dragon told him that he found certain things uncomfortable, he continued to wallow in his delusion, expressing his feelings, to which Dragon responded,
"I feel happy. You're such an amazing friend and bro to me. I enjoy the conversations we have and YTR. You're special to me. You're one of my best friends. You're an amazing bro. Thank you."
Right after Dragon specifically showed Starman 3 that he was trying to keep them as just friends, he responded with more confessions, but Dragon reiterated that he wasn't okay with his confessions, and this made Starman 3 threaten to stop talking to Dragon altogether, who begged him not to leave. And after he agreed to stay, he promised Dragon to keep things at kisses and hugs, without anything more NSFW. Now Dragon then agreed to remain friends with Starman 3, counting on the promise that things wouldn't get intimate. However, just in the very next minute, Starman 3 would initiate a more predatory conversation.
"Oh, and DY, do you know Yoshi can eat other Yoshi? LOL. Well, what would happen if I eat you? Don't you dare put me into an egg. Nah, I'll keep you warm. Watch this, spread tongue around your body. God damn it. Put you in my mouth and smiles. Then I swallow you whole. Well, you're inside of me."
Now immediately this post hit the internet, and some users actually began to express doubts about the screenshots, as the account, which allegedly belonged to Starman 3, had been deleted. But Dragon was well prepared. To prove that the messages were real, he would then share a video that proves that the account indeed belonged to Starman 3.
If we go over to here, we will see deleted user here. But if we click on it, it says leader. Only 2 people in this server had the leader role. That was Starman 3 and CD-ROM. But CD-ROM's account was not banned.
And after all of these allegations started to gain traction on the internet, one of the pioneers in the early Super Mario 64 community, Matthew GU4, made a video about the situation and compiled every known piece of evidence about the case. And although many are lost to time, some of them are still available. One of them was a YouTube video that was posted in April of 2019 by a user named Lucid Secrecy Carmine, which shows more allegations against Starman 3. In one of the screenshots shown in the video, Starman 3 can be seen telling a smaller human that he likes him back in 2017. And more screenshots also show that Starman 3 had been called out initially in that same year, to which he responded and even even admitted about the allegations, saying,
"To everyone, included redacted, I need to stop my addiction, try to listen to people more often, trying to loosen up my sensitivity. Plus I haven't made any video, maybe that's why. I should be more like redacted than just being a PDF file freak. No one wants PDF Starman 3, nobody wants it. Anyways, thanks for the talk at redacted. I feel so much better. It's better to do something than doing nothing."
This post continued with Starman 3 talking about how his mother told him that what he was doing was disgusting and how he's planned to stop, before he then ended the post with,
"And I didn't want to have problem anymore. Plus, I guess I upset myself because I did intimate roleplay with people. That is not how I make friendship with them. Plus, redacted, thank you for making me fully realize that what I did was terribly unforgiving wrong."
And as convincing as this apology sounds, not everyone bought it, because right under that post, a user dropped a comment insinuating that Starman 3 cannot be taken seriously, saying,
"You said the same thing a couple of months ago and still did the same thing, so this time you better change."
But even after that, Starman 3 kept on painting himself as the victim by making the whole situation about himself. Then in 2018, he posted on his Discord saying that he planned to delete his YouTube channel because everyone was against him and no one understood him. And in the same year, Starman 3 posted more about feeling lonely and sad, and also talked about his goals for the year 2019. The same video contains another screenshot where a smaller human could be seen calling Starman 3 a PDF file during a roleplay, to which he then responded saying,
"Also, don't bring up the PDF stuff again, please. That stuff is done. I don't join there anymore. SSP is more important to me."
As already mentioned, Starman 3 didn't stop going after smaller humans, as the evidence provided by Dragon shows the conversation happened in June of 2019, and so the fresh wave of allegations would eventually bring an end to Starman 3's career, as his character was removed from the SMG4 series just before season 4 was released, and ever since, every chance to bring him back has been frowned upon by fans of the series. So much so that in 2020, when a Discord user posted a meme which says,
"Starman 3 should return in modern SMG4,
it was greatly condemned by fans. And after this, Starman 3 would gradually withdraw from online activities, as his YouTube channels and his main Twitter account have remained inactive ever since. But while Starman 3 disappeared after being exposed, this next case is much more unsettling, since the perpetrator is still active on the internet.
And do you confess that everything in these images are real? That you interacted with Tetracaden in this manner?
Yes.
Alright.
I did, in fact, roleplay with Tetracaden.
And you acknowledge that you knew at the time that he was...
Yes.
Although GeoffCraze634 started his YouTube channel in 2012, he became known in the Super Mario community in 2014. When he began dropping Super Mario 64 machinima content, he quickly gained tens of thousands of subscribers on YouTube and was gradually getting accepted by a much wider audience until his name was found in the most unexpected place on the internet. In 2016, just 2 years after GeoffCraze started making Super Mario content, he was accused of taking advantage of two smaller humans named Ellie Godelia and Namicina46 online, requesting illicit images and engaging in weird foot fantasy with them. The call-out post on this case has as of now been deleted, but fortunately fragments of the evidence on this case still roam freely on the internet. In one of the screenshots made available by the poster, GeoffCraze can be seen chatting with Namicina, who was a smaller human at the time. GeoffCraze asked her to send him pictures of her feet, which got Namicina really curious.
"I may ask you if you really want. There's no problem. How long does it take? I don't really know though. My feet aren't that cool. It's fine. I can help you demonstrate. I can send you pictures of my feet if you want, but it depends on what you do with the pics. I won't save the pics, but I can pin them." "Nah, I meant like, what are you doing with these?" "Ah, just having a look. I had a weird fantasy feeling about it."
After taking time to try to convince Namicina, she eventually sent the pictures, and according to Namicina, he asked for explicit images of her, all while knowing that she was a smaller human. Also in 2016, GeoffCraze was also seen chatting with another smaller human named Ellie Godelia, who at the time had just called out a member of the Splatoon community, Heavy the Squid, for taking advantage of her. In one of the screenshots of text between Ellie and GeoffCraze, you could see her talking about how GeoffCraze successfully replaced Heavy the Squid.
"But I'm still glad I'm not with him anymore, because I have you."
And weeks later, Ellie was already making moves to send illicit pictures of herself to GeoffCraze, saying,
"I'm about to get that picture ready. I was still debating if I should use pants or not."
And while it seemed like Ellie was comfortable with whatever went on between her and GeoffCraze, the relationship was frowned upon by people, because Ellie had not yet attained the age of consent. And just like that, these allegations became the start of a serious issue for GeoffCraze. And for 2 years straight, people would call him out everywhere he appeared online. But thinking that silence was the best answer to these allegations and controversies, GeoffCraze chose to ignore the situation for a while. But instead of going away completely, the backlash only got worse. And eventually in 2018, he posted a lengthy apology, saying,
"Hello, from now, what you see of me getting exposed of what I did from the past back in 2016 got me to remain silent and decide to go on hiatus for a month. I didn't get angry at all. I did stay calm. I understand that you're all shocked, horrified, and disgusted of this kind of behavior that I had. I wasn't aware of what I was doing, and it is entirely my fault for not controlling myself and making so many people mad and pissed about it. Even they want me dead or arrested. I shouldn't have done it in the first place. I'm taking full responsibility and the admittance from the mistakes I've made. To Namicina46 and Ellie Godelia when she was a smaller human back then. Even if many of you don't want to believe or trust what I said, thinking that I'm compared to Starman 3 or Heavy the Squid and even thinking that I'm lying to anyone of you and myself. I did admit it that I deserve to be treated badly and have to face the consequences and the backlashes.
He admitted to having a foot fantasy and mentioned that he was depressed thinking about what he did to Ellie and Namisina. However, in the very next line, he would go ahead and defend himself by claiming that he didn't know what he was doing.
Yes, it is horribly wrong to do such kinds of things that I never wanted to do, that lead me to be accused of taking advantage of small humans or a PDF file, even though I didn't realize it. This is the worst thing that I've ever done and I regretted it. I didn't want to become that kind of person to begin with. It is understandable that I can't be forgiven because of the horrible things I did, and I may lose a lot of people whom I trust, but I will try my best to control, change, and improve myself of what I am right now from the past. Yes, I did delete the pictures, so I'll never do this kind of stuff again, to decrease the addiction for my own good.
And after Geoff Craze promised to change and be a better person, he then addressed his victims, saying,
To Namisina 46 and Ellie Gudelia, if you're reading this, I have to apologize. I'm sorry for all the trouble that I caused you, if that made you feel uncomfortable about it, and I promise I'll never do that again. I appreciate that you wanted to move on or not be friends with me, but I'm just a normal human being who makes mistakes just like everyone else, and I learned to admit my own faults. I'm not an enemy. I hope you will forgive me for all the things I've done in the past. Even if you don't want to, that's fine. I promise I will improve and control myself to be a better person for the future, and I will learn my lesson. Thank you for understanding.
And while some people didn't think his apology was genuine, his fans believed that he was truly sorry and that he would really change as promised. But not long after, he made another post saying,
Hello, sorry I did stuff to myself to pictures of a smaller human. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'll probably do it again with the next 2 weeks.
And while this post was deleted shortly after it went up, it was already spreading across the community, ruining whatever credibility his apology had. And although Geoff Craze went silent for a while, just 1 year later, his story would take an interesting twist, as he was caught in an even more terrible scandal involving the most unexpected character in the story. In 2019, a Discord group chat named The Loot House would be exposed for housing adults who were extremely inappropriate with a lot of smaller humans. However, the existence of this group wasn't as shocking as the list of perpetrators in the group, and that is because it includes Geoff Craze, Cute Yoshi Lover, Lizzie the Ratsicle 15, T Canadian Spartan, and Geoff Craze's victim, Ellie Gudelia. But this time, Ellie wasn't a victim. She was also a perpetrator. It all started when Geoff Craze joined the server on August 16, 2019, which was a year after his public apology, and promised that he would change. Almost instantly, Geoff Craze started to roleplay with smaller humans, and even invited another person known as Genesis to the server.
Rar smoothly rubs Jenny's forehead while carrying her, giggles, blushes as her forehead disrupts, covers our faces, kisses Jenny's lips.
And while Geoff Craze and Genesis roleplay was going on, Ellie, who was now an adult, was also roleplaying inappropriately with another small human.
Wanna join me? Not now, playing Red Dead Online. Aw, I wanna hear her voice. I was gonna put on a show for you, Rasmus. What about me? And TCS2. Sorry I'm late. A show you say? Yep, did I miss it already? Nope, I'm just getting started actually. Would you like to join us? What room? It's in the DMs. Yeah, might wanna mute your mic though. Okay, I will.
Aside from conversations like this, Ellie also sent images of herself to the group along with inappropriate art pieces. And according to a member of the group, no one ever actually requested these inappropriate images from Ellie. And she was also the only person on the server to post their pictures without clothes. And once of course Ellie got exposed, some of her followers called her out for her hypocrisy, saying,
I thought you hated Heavy for wanting stuff like this from you, but now all of a sudden you're just freely portraying herself as an adult content creator?
This scandal was so big that Ellie was also interviewed by a YouTuber named Medi Excalibur, who asked her if every allegation against her and every piece of evidence shared online are true. And unsurprisingly, Ellie downplayed everything she did. She decided to speak the half-truth to minimize her crimes.
You'll see that I have saved here photos that were in the initial Dropbox of Ellie and Tetracaden engaging in some interesting activities. And do you confess that everything in these images are real? That you interacted with Tetracaden in this manner?
Yes.
Alright.
I did, in fact, roleplay with Tetracaden.
And you acknowledge that you knew at the time that he was...
Yes.
For the remaining part of the interview, she kept contradicting her initial claim that she didn't know the member she was chatting with was a smaller human.
Basically, I was in this NSFW server, and I was told that, you know, people there were 18 plus only. However, they weren't being honest with me, and someone apparently who was there was not 18 plus. They were actually...
However, one of the screenshots included in the Loot House expose would later prove this to be false, as both Ellie and Geoff Craze can be seen discussing Genesis' age in one of her conversations.
What is that thing that Jenny sent? His lower body part. Dear God, he's too young to have that kind of maturity, but I see worse than that. I'm not surprised. Ellie, there are a few teenagers who can be like that.
This clearly shows that the two of them knew at least the age of the members, but chose to ignore it. And while Eddie made videos and granted interviews, Geoff Craze never addressed the situation. He simply watched everything slowly go from bad to worse. And following the fresh allegations, certain friends of Geoff Craze would also start cutting ties with him, including a YouTuber named The Inverted Shadow, who made a video about the situation claiming that he stopped being friends with everyone in the server, including Geoff Craze.
And while I didn't give names, I also mentioned that I had severed ties with several members of that community. The people in question were, in no particular order, Ghost of Time 1, to Canadian Spartan, Lizzie Ratical, aka Claudes, JeffCray64, and Eligadelia.
In addition to losing his friends, Jeff Craze also lost his Twitter account, which got suspended on August 6, 2021 for violating the terms of use after previously being restricted. And to crown it all, he also lost views on his YouTube channel. And although Jeff Craze has not stopped uploading videos on YouTube and his subscribers have not reduced significantly, he's gone from getting hundreds of thousands of views to just a couple thousand. And while this case ended with a little bit of consequence, this next case is heartbreaking, since the perpetrator didn't just get away with it, but got even bigger after getting exposed.
He would make an apology video clarifying everything that happened to clear his name.
Back in 2018, CreepyProduce was just another Mario Kart fan uploading challenge videos from his bedroom. But within 3 years, he'd have tens of millions of views, a Discord server packed with thousands of young fans, and a reputation as one of Mario Kart Wii YouTube's biggest creators. CreepyProduce built his channel starting in July 2018. His signature format was the If I challenge series, and by August 2019, he'd released 101 Ways to Fail in Mario Kart Wii, a video that surpassed 2 million views and cemented him as a major face in the Mario Kart Wii community. By early 2021, his channel had reached 34 million total views across 314 videos, but his real connection to fans came through Discord. At the peak of his popularity, CreepyProduce ran a server with around 30,000 members, a place where young viewers could chat with him directly and share fan art. From the outside, everything looked perfect: a growing channel, a thriving community, and a beloved creator. It's January 10th, 2021. A Mario Kart Wii YouTuber with 110,000 subscribers wakes up to his phone blowing up with notifications. Screenshots of his private Discord messages are spreading across Twitter, and within 4 days, he'll upload 2 videos to address what happened. But the second one will completely change how his audience sees him. That Sunday morning, a Twitter account called CreepyProduce Out of Context, which was a parody account dedicated to CreepyProduce, posted screenshots of Discord direct messages between him and a young viewer. The messages showed flirtatious exchanges that crossed the line from friendly creator-fan interaction into romantic territory.
I want that too, baby, and if you're having second thoughts, I'm okay with that. I know we haven't been talking for a super long time. I just want you to know, because you genuinely have made me the happiest I've been in a long time. But I think you do have the same feelings, and I hope that continues, because I'm crazy in love with you right now.
And instantly she responded,
I'm crazy in love too. I'm not having second thoughts. I legit see us married together, helping the kids get ready for school, and then I kiss you goodbye while you're in a suit.
Now this turned what should have been a normal fan interaction into something much more personal and disturbing. Members of his own Discord server saw the screenshots, and within hours they were turning on him, with mass pings and accusations flooding the channels. And when people in the community confronted him about what they were seeing, CreepyProduce offered only 5 words in response.
It's not what it seems.
However, his own messages told a different story.
So many things I've fantasized of doing to you.
Directly expressing his fantasies to her despite the age difference between them. Now the next day, facing mounting pressure and internal chaos, CreepyProduce made a drastic decision. He deleted his entire Discord server after administrators requested it, saying the situation had turned into general toxicity, and so former members gathered to create new communities on social media to keep talking about what was happening. And on Tuesday, CreepyProduce uploaded a 16-minute video titled My Response. In it, he confirmed the allegations were true. He'd been communicating romantically with a young fan while he was 19, but he tried to add context. He explained that he'd been depressed in December of 2020 after a failed relationship with someone closer to his age, and that when this younger viewer sent him fan art and gave him attention, he felt emotionally attached.
I still want to talk about it anyway first. Also, yeah, please do not send explicit images. You're still young. You can't really consent yet. Your brain is still developing. It just doesn't feel 100% right, so I can't commit right now. Anyway, I gotta go to dinner. I'll talk to you a little bit more if you're still here when I get back. Sure, I just hate being downgraded as a small human, while I can still definitely think for myself. That's why I tend to rush it. I'm sorry, I made you feel that way. I just really love you.
He admitted what he did was wrong, but then said something crucial. He claimed the conversations never turned intimate, and that no images were exchanged, trying to present himself as someone drawing a line, even as leaked messages suggested otherwise. The video description read,
Hey guys, just want to reiterate, please do not harass this girl. I'm not blaming her, I'm taking the blame.
Now what happened next was unexpected. This video held a 93% like to dislike ratio, and the comments were filled with support from viewers defending him, saying everyone makes mistakes and that he deserved a second chance. And many commenters seemed more focused on his content than on the seriousness of what he just admitted to, but not everyone believed him. 2 days later, CreepyProduce uploaded a second video. The title was blunt: No More Lies. In this video, he delivered a much darker confession. Contrary to what he said earlier, the relationship had in fact gotten intimate.
So many things I've fantasized of doing to you. Same, you don't know what I want you to do to me. I have a general idea. Tell me.
And then they would both go on to explain in explicit detail what they do. And he admitted that he'd been trying to paint himself in a good light in the first video, and that he'd left out the twisted parts of the story. And as more screenshots surfaced, it became impossible for him to maintain the earlier versions of events. And so he ended the video by announcing that he would be taking a break from YouTube. Now the second video of course received a significant amount of dislikes. Whatever goodwill he had earned from the first apology vanished almost instantly. And on Reddit, one user shared the new video with the caption,
Absolutely disgusting.
While another, who'd initially wanted to give him a chance, wrote,
Damn, this always happens in apologies like this. Terribly sad to see.
The pattern was now obvious. CreepyProduce had tried to control the narrative with a half-truth, only admitting the full extent of what he'd done when he was backed into a corner. And so the consequences came pretty quickly. Fellow Mario Kart Wii creators like Mayro publicly cut ties with him, and Mayro summed the situation up by saying,
"Yeah, I don't know, even if you were legal at the time, it'd still be super sketch. 19 and is still pretty big. And if it was to theoretically last longer, it would then become 20, which is just unfathomable. But you could be 25, and I'd be concerned about doing stuff to myself after 10 days. Jesus Christ. 2 times. Said it was leaking out too. Oh my god."
Now, as the backlash kept growing, CreepyProduce was actually doxxed, with his personal information spreading across various Discord servers and forums. And in February of 2021, about a month after the scandal, he quietly unlisted both response videos. And in a pinned comment, he explained that he'd seen a professional psychologist and was obviously very disgusted and embarrassed and ashamed of the whole situation. He said having these videos public was giving him anxiety and that he no longer wanted them easily accessible. Now, they remain unlisted, but can still be reached through direct links archived earlier that month. In December of 2021, after nearly a year of silence, CreepyProduce then announced he would return to content creation. He resumed posting Mario Kart content, and his channel continues operating today with a 6-figure subscriber count. The platform never removed his channel. Now, later on, very importantly, viewers began to notice something strange. A Clash Royale YouTuber named Graz was rapidly growing a new audience, eventually reaching around 260,000 subscribers, more than double what CreepyProduce had ever had. But people started comparing voices and digging through connected accounts. And on Graz's Royal API page, his Twitter profile was linked back to the same account used by CreepyProduce, and forum posts began circulating with claims like,
"Their voices sound exactly the same. This man is outrunning his past."
no arrests or formal legal proceedings have been publicly documented, and the final overview video CreepyProduce once hinted at was never released. And to this day, the full extent of what happened between him and the young fan is known only to the people directly involved. But as disturbing as this story is, this next case is even more horrifying, since it involves multiple smaller humans.
After just hearing that, I actually want to like take off my headphones and throw them, because what the bro?
For many years, Weegeepie was a familiar name in the Super Mario community. With over 2 million subscribers on YouTube, he had the hearts of many Super Mario fans, courtesy of his animated videos which were centered around Luigi from the Mario franchise. And he would remain a fan favorite until a single tweet destroyed his reputation overnight. On January 25th, 2024, a Twitter user named Pushmush posted a Google Doc on Twitter with the caption,
"A call-out dog on Weegeepie. Please read and spread."
Now, before I can continue, it's important to mention that Weegeepie, whose real name is Lucas Poirson, used many online usernames. These included Inactive, Ouija, Lucas with a Heart, Dolno, and Weegeepie. The first few pages of the document contain screenshots of conversations between Weegeepie with the username Inactive and an unidentified person, where he could be seen using inappropriate words from the S slur to the N word over and over again. And according to the document, he used these slurs against individuals in the LGBTQ community. It was nothing compared to what he did with smaller humans in a Discord group. In one of the screenshots, Weegeepie was talking to a member of the group known as T. Cole, who was a smaller human. The conversation started playfully, with Weegeepie saying,
"He can't hear you. Can't hear you."
and T. Cole replying with,
"Don't call me that."
before Weegeepie then says,
"It's okay. It'll be quick."
Now, while the whole conversation seems kind of harmless at first, things soon take a darker turn when T. Cole asks Weegeepie to roleplay with her.
Then play Coffin of Andy. Shockhead can't hear you scream while I'm with you.
Using an inappropriate word like this may seem shocking, but the truth is Weegeepie used this word repeatedly in his roleplays with younger humans. In another screenshot, he wrote,
"I will be with you sadly. I will with her and you can't sadly. I will then forward another message that I will soon come to you and be with you and record everything and yet again forward that to them."
As crazy as that text was, it was only the tip of the iceberg in the allegations against Weegeepie. According to Hushmush, in January of 2024, Weegeepie sent an explicit image to smaller humans in the same group. The image shows a man with a 3D face of a user known as VMario stroking something and captioned,
"VMario sent this to Proxy."
The strangest part was that the other group members didn't seem to have a problem with the picture and what it showed. But Hushmush was disgusted by the act and would later address the issue with Weegeepie. He advised Weegeepie to be careful about his choice of words and actions, since he had a reputation to protect. But surprisingly, Weegeepie didn't think he did anything wrong and took his time to explain the situation, saying,
"We just talked about it in the VC, I'm afraid. Proxy's literally in on the jokes. Sure, if you don't find them funny. But I literally kept bothering you all about Sid for that very reason. Would be completely our word if I did the exact same afterwards, wouldn't it now? It's common sense. But you could have, asked me about it, or even Proxy. If I was actually doing it, don't you think she would have said anything by now?" The VMario nude was also a joke that VMario is in on. It's the frame I found on an adult website and made me lose my mind because it's a dude with a Mario face. It reminded me of VMario, so I asked him if I could do the joke.
But even with everything he said, Hushmush wasn't buying it. Weegeepie kept justifying his actions by saying it was only meant to be a prank, and that Hush's reaction only shows that his plan to trick everyone was successful. Hushmush then mentioned that actions like this are the reason people don't like Weegeepie on Twitter, and once again emphasized that Weegeepie only behaves like this because he believes his action is one of consequences. In his defense, Weegeepie doubled down by saying that the joke was only meant to stay in the group, but Hushmush reminded him that there's still a chance that it might get out, and not surprisingly, it was Hushmush himself who would later leak the conversation. Now the document would go on to receive some attention online with users condemning Weegeepie's deeds, but he didn't actually seem to care at all, leading Hushmush to block him. Now that was the end of Hush's document, but unknown to anyone at the time, it was only the beginning of Weegeepie's problems. However, before everything got worse for him, Weegeepie saw the backlash he was receiving from Hush's post, and so in order to salvage his reputation, he decided to address the issue in a statement on his alternate Twitter account the following day, saying,
"First off, this is not the apology/debunk statement you expected to read, or at least not fully. I simply refuse to give in to what is quite literally just a low-effort, non-serious, clout-chasing Google Doc made by a very hypocritical and immature teenager. Their only motives are clout and pure pettiness. I refuse to give them any more attention than they've already got, as that's the exact thing they want."
As if attacking the person who exposed him was bad enough, Weegeepie would then go on to justify all the allegations against him, saying,
"I'll never say it again. Everything in a doc is not serious. I am allowed to use the F and R word. As for the N and T word, those were quoted from someone else. They perfectly knew all of what I've just said, by the way."
He then made sure to paint himself as a victim by announcing that he would leave Twitter and disappear totally from social media because everyone had turned their backs against him. Now, contrary to what Weegeepie might have expected though, the statement only fueled the anger of the public, who expected him to address the allegations directly instead of making himself a victim. And to make things worse, the post emboldened people who knew Weegeepie personally to reach out to Hushmush with even more damning revelations about Weegeepie. On February 4th, 2024, Hushmush then made another tweet containing a new Google Doc about Weegeepie saying,
"I've come back to re-expose Weegeepie for being an obsessive stalker and manipulating multiple victims."
While this caption only mentioned disturbing accusations, the 37-page document revealed something far more sinister. The first part of the allegations contains a series of screenshots showing inappropriate conversations between Weegeepie and a very small human, whom we will call Alice, back in 2021. The first screenshot shows him talking about Alice's upper body part and immediately lying about his phone getting hacked. From there, the conversation got really serious, with Weegeepie asking Alice if she would want to be with him if he was her cousin. He also went ahead to request explicit images of Alice as he could do stuff to himself with them, but Alice refused. Now eventually Alice got on a video call with Weegeepie and he was able to have his way, saying,
"I'm doing stuff to myself to you in a video call."
To which Alice responded,
"At least your homies didn't notice. You have thick thighs though."
Now Alice and Weegeepie had a lot of inappropriate exchanges, and all was good with them until Alice found out about his age and confronted him about it.
"You are the PDF file. I'm not a PDF file. I'm not an adult. Not years old. If you're years old, you're already considered a PDF file."
At the time this conversation happened, Weegeepie was already but just so he could appear not too much older than Alice, who wasn't even a teenager at the time, he lied. And as soon as these screenshots got out, Weegeepie responded by sending an angry text to Alice, trying to manipulate her into covering up for him.
"Tell him you faked it. If you don't tell him you faked it, then this is gonna go really bad. Tell him you made it up because you were angry."
And this manipulation was actually successful, as Alice would end up sending Hushmush a message saying that she made up the whole allegations against Weegeepie. After that, Weegeepie then deleted every conversation he had with Alice, and so he was off the hook in 2021. But even after Alice did what he wanted, he told her to stop telling people that he was manipulating her, and also threatened to break up with her if she doesn't say he's innocent on the group chat that they both belong to, and if she doesn't block everyone in the same Discord server. He then started to give Alice a cold shoulder, forcing her to beg him to talk to her, saying,
"Can I just make an account to talk to you? Absolutely not. Please. I won't fall for that. Do what I said or I'm breaking up with you, and I'll expose you alongside everyone else. I'm not taking this lightly. I'm even thinking about taking this to court. This is literal harassment. If you don't want to do it, that obviously means you're on their side."
Eventually, Alice dropped a message in the group saying,
"Weegeepie is not manipulating me,"
and immediately exited the group. But even after doing this, Weegeepie still wasn't satisfied. He wanted to have full control of the situation, so he gave Alice two options. One, cut off everyone that is not in support of him, and two, give him access to her Discord account. He then followed his conditions up with a message asking Alice to choose between him and those against him, and Alice eventually chose him, and he once again told her to block everyone, saying,
"I don't see why you'd need anyone."
But even though Weegeepie was doing his best to convince Alice to cut off all of her friends, she still wasn't comfortable going ahead with it. So Weegeepie instead asked her for her login details so he could do it himself, and after a little back and forth, Alice gave him access to her account, and he immediately went to the messages of one of Alice's friends saying,
"Weegeepie is not manipulating me. I don't want anything to do with this entire situation. I've been close to him for months, and he's not that type of person. I can't change what you guys think, but there's been all the lies and shit, so what I said ain't what I think about him. I'll be blocking everyone, and I don't want to talk to y'all ever again."
After this, Weegeepie sent the same type of message on her Twitter account and blocked all of her friends. And now Alice was all alone, and soon the isolation started to affect her, and in the end, she simply couldn't take it anymore and decided to contact her friends on an alternate account. Thankfully, with the help of her friends, Alice was able to break up with Weegeepie, and that became the end of their story. But that still wasn't the worst part of this document. According to another screenshot, he was having a conversation with another younger human who said that he still had his V-card, and in response he sent a video of himself getting intimate with another younger human. And this video led to a weird conversation where the younger human, who we will call Amy, asked,
"Are those like videos with her face? Her stuff and my stuff in it?"
But the document still didn't end here. Hushmush then went into to another serious accusation involving a smaller human whom we will call Sophia, who Weegeepie had met online. But unlike other victims, this particular story wasn't reported by Sophia herself, but by her close friend named Pyro. According to Pyro, Weegeepie and Sophia met online around July 2022 after he discovered an art piece she posted on her YouTube page. Immediately, Weegeepie connected with Sophia on Discord, and the two began actively chatting. Sophia informed Pyro about this new friendship on the same day, which got him really concerned. And to ensure that his friend was safe, Pyro started asking if Weegeepie said anything out of place to her, and she then shared their chats with Pyro, who was relieved to find out that it only contained support and well wishes. But the conversation wouldn't stay harmless for too long, as Weegeepie would soon take things from friendly to extremely uncomfortable. It all started when Weegeepie sent Sophia this creepy text saying,
"I'd be the happiest ever if my girlfriend or wife was like you."
Now he would send these types of texts for a few days, until she started getting very uncomfortable and decided to send Weegeepie a lengthy message saying,
"You seem like a cool person, but the way you talk to me right now is like in a way someone really close to me would talk. I mean, for instance, Pyro and I have been talking for almost 2 years now, and we don't really talk like that. We've known each other barely for 4 days, and the way you talk is like how I would talk to a significant other."
She then continued saying how she initially didn't know the age gap between them, as well as how the conversations about and marrying made her uncomfortable. And at the end of the message, she wrote,
"I can't get my head around someone caring about me that much when I've only known them for a little while. I just wanted to set things straight before things get worse."
Now upon seeing Sophia pull away, Weegeepie decided to turn the tables by penning himself as the victim, saying,
"I've got nothing but fake people that backstab me rather quickly, or just use me until they've had enough. I know it's really weird, and I apologize. My brain just denied the fact that it's weird because of how much I want to be appreciated. It's just so hard to deal with, and I don't know what to do."
Now after he got rejected by Sophia, the two then decided to start their friendship all over again, 2 months later, and this time setting boundaries to keep it just as a friendship. But this still wouldn't last long, as just 4 days after their reconciliation, Weegeepie would then hop on a voice chat with Sophia, who asked her to be his girlfriend. Sophia immediately reported this to Pyro, quoting some of the things Weegeepie said to her, saying,
He said, and I quote, "You make me so happy. I feel as though I don't need to take my medication."
Now Sophia would then share a now deleted recording of the voice call with Pyro, who later posted it online to expose Weegeepie. And unexpectedly, this voice call would go completely viral on social media, with fans making memes out of it, and some calling Weegeepie's behavior weird. Now surprisingly, Weegeepie remained unfazed and only became more possessive and obsessed with Sophia. He bought her Spotify Premium just so he could listen to music with her, and also texted her repeatedly when she wasn't responding. Sophia got sick of the sweet behavior and told Pyro she was tired of Weegeepie's love bombing, at which point Pyro then came up with a plan to put an end to Sophia's problem. He started making posts pretending to be her boyfriend on Twitter, and as soon as Weegeepie saw the post that suggested a relationship between the two, he of course started to complain about the relationship, saying,
"Why are you wasting your time with me? You could be with the one you love. I don't know what you see in him. I don't even know what to say. Nothing goes my way. I hate him."
However, after a while, Weegeepie would confess to Sophia that he was dating multiple girls and that he didn't think he deserved her after all. But while that seemed like he was finally letting her go, Weegeepie soon showed signs that he was only trying to manipulate Sophia into dating him out of pity by saying,
"Obviously, I've never kept any of those girls for long. I just wish I could magically not love you. Why are you so perfect? This is not fair."
But Sophia saw this as an opportunity to push Weegeepie away by saying,
"Listen, if you need to distance yourself from me in order to heal, I'd understand."
But instead of taking the bait, Weegeepie found a way out of it by telling Sophia he could not leave her alone and would continue to show her off in Discord servers by claiming her as his. Eventually, Sophia stopped following Weegeepie on social media and ignored every one of his messages. But after Sophia blocked him, Weegeepie fired back by making a poorly edited picture of her hanging from a noose. Now this became the end of another chapter in Weegeepie's story, but that still wasn't the last of his accusations against him. It turns out that Weegeepie was so scared of getting outed on the internet that he attempted to blackmail multiple victims by threatening to release their personal information if they ever tried to expose him. To protect his image, Weegeepie would also send DMs to his victims and their friends, threatening to get them arrested. At some point, he also got his father to send an email to one of his victims, threatening to file an international lawsuit against them. This document ended up getting even more attention than the first, with many people calling Weegeepie out to address the situation. But not long after Hushmo's tweet blew up, Weegeepie quoted it with a now deleted tweet saying,
"Yet again, a lot of crucial details left out on purpose. Currently at the hospital, so I will make a proper video debunking every single point made against me. It will take time to both get out of the hospital and make the video covering absolutely everything, so please be patient."
And after announcing that the video would be released, he later promised that it would be out in 2 weeks. But 2 weeks passed and nothing came from it. And so on February 25th, 2024, Hushmosh came with a third document containing even more unsettling allegations against Weegeepie. The 60-page document contains revelations about 4 different victims who've been taken advantage of and mistreated by Weegeepie, starting with a smaller human he met on Roblox in 2022. The conversation between the two quickly became intimate, and this smaller human, whom we will call Lola, would start dating Weegeepie. Now initially, Lola did not know Weegeepie was 18, but by 2023, she found out about his age and confronted him about it. While the screenshot didn't show Weegeepie's response, more evidence revealed that he didn't end the relationship after the conversation. Instead, Weegeepie would go ahead and send more inappropriate text. In one of the screenshots, Weegeepie can be seen saying stuff like,
"Would you still love me if I had a third ball?"
and also where he sent Lola images of adult toys. Now, to worsen the situation, in 2024, he also tried to get Lola to visit him in a hotel, even when he knew how young she was. But before they would meet up, Pushmush had dropped his first expose against Weegeepie, and out of fear of getting exposed for trying to link up with a small human, Weegeepie would delete most of the messages he sent to Lola, before then blocking her completely. Now, when Lola noticed, she was initially confused, but after seeing Hush's post, she understood why Weegeepie suddenly blocked her everywhere. She then reached out to Hushmush with the evidence that was left on her device. Now, not long after their breakup, Lola would find out that Weegeepie had made a new Instagram account, where he was already talking to 2 other younger humans. Lola then contacted the 2 to warn them about Weegeepie, but instead of taking her advice, one of them showed Weegeepie the conversations, which made Weegeepie so mad that he texted Lola with threats, and seeing that the situation was now taking a dark turn, Lola decided to retreat, leaving the victims to fate. In addition to these allegations, Pushmush mentioned in the document that at the time the third document was written, Weegeepie was dating another smaller human identified as Castle Calamity, or Castle for short, and that after some old friends of Weegeepie found out about the relationship, they reached out to Castle and explained the whole situation, revealing her boyfriend's inappropriate relationship with other humans like herself. But instead of trying to let go of Weegeepie, Castle immediately started talking about how hard it is for her to break up with him, and when asked if she planned to go back to Weegeepie, Castle said that she didn't want to cut contact with him because she was worried he would lose his mind. And to make the situation worse, she went online to defend Weegeepie and actually stood by it. But Castle wasn't the only one defending his name. Weegeepie himself defended his name everywhere. For example, he was on Reddit responding to a comment by a user named Nintendo Fan under a post calling him out.
"The SMG4 fan channel guy? Damn, my condolences to the victims. They're not really victims, sadly. I know this might sound completely blasphemous for me to say. However, I respectfully ask you to wait for my response. Thanks."
Another user then responded to the comment saying,
"This is going to age badly if any of them are not of age."
To which Weegeepie responded,
"I was not of age too. I fully stand with what I say. Please wait for my response."
And since Weegeepie was pretty confident in his defense, many of the members of the community were patiently waiting for his response video so they could hear his side of the story. So when he dropped a new video on his channel on February 26, 2024, everyone naturally believed that this was the response video he promised, but they all ended up being disappointed after the video turned out to be a rant about his experience working at an Australian animation studio called CreepyProduce. So fans who'd been expecting a video about the allegations expressed their disappointments, but Weegeepie simply didn't care and kept posting about other stuff. However, this would change on February 28, 2024, when a close friend of Weegeepie named Rasprune made a video confirming some of the allegations against it by interviewing one of the witnesses in the case.
Tu te souviens de l'histoire avec... C'est la fameuse meuf qui a menti sur son âge. Oui, voilà, Baby, bon, déjà il y a ça, c'est ça qu'il a mis. Et en fait, j'ai oublié de te dire, c'est que effectivement, à l'époque déjà, elle lui avait envoyé des news.
After this, he also posted a statement on Twitter saying,
"I've decided to cut ties with Weegeepie. My reasoning is personal, and I will not speak about it publicly or share any more details unless I need to do so. I will no longer associate with him moving forward."
Rasputin wasn't the only friend who left him. Some other friends like content creators Raymond Potatoes and Cake Noob also stopped being friends with him after they tried to convince him to break up with the smaller human he was dating, but he simply refused. And following Rasputin's video, more and more people stopped watching Weegeepie's content, while thousands of fans immediately began unfollowing him completely, just like this user who commented under Rasputin's video saying,
"I was an avid follower of Weegeepie at one point, maybe even a fan, but after hearing about the allegations and looking deep into what's been going on myself, I've officially decided to stop following him."
But even though many of Weegeepie's friends had turned against him at this point, he also had some who were totally defending it. One of them was Mutafat, who wrote a document posted by Needster, one of Weegeepie's friends. According to Mutafat, her plan wasn't to cover the drama, but to talk about her perspective of the story, as she'd heard from both sides of the drama directly. But the weird part was that Mutafat was taking sides without even examining the evidence against Weegeepie.
"First of all, I will admit that I've not read the documents. All I know is from what others have told me from both sides. I do not plan to read these documents, because I do not want to get into this drama any farther than I already have here. I'm going off what I know/believe here."
And more shockingly, she later claimed that the evidence in the Google Docs were fake, saying,
"I just personally believe that most, if not everything that at least I've heard in there is fake/taken out of context."
Now this document ended up receiving backlash, with many commenting on how badly written it was, considering the allegations and evidence against Weegeepie. But with everything going on in Weegeepie's name, he chose to remain silent, hoping that the drama would just fade away. However, what no one saw coming was the release of a fourth document. On March 31st, 2024, Pushmush released a new document which has now been terminated by Google Docs due to a violation of terms of service. The document contained revelations about new victims, as well as more information about previous ones. But Weegeepie would then do the unexpected by finally posting a response video on April 19, 2024.
I want to clarify, it's not an apology, it's a response/debunk, not an apology. Please share this, some people probably have me blocked.
This was Weegeepie's opening statement, but nothing would prepare anyone for what he was about to say next.
I find it very insane and stupid that I'm even being called a... It's obvious that I'm not a... If anything, it just makes me seem like a, which is what I'm gonna also debunk, but I'm absolutely not a, and I'm also not a, but dude, just read. People, please read.
Weegeepie spent a lot of time either justifying certain actions or calling his accusers liars. But one thing he didn't fail to admit was that he indeed owned explicit content involving younger people by keeping an explicit video of his ex who was smaller. But once again, he defended himself by saying that he was also a smaller human at the time, so he was innocent. However, as absurd as this is, it is nothing compared to the conclusion part of the video.
Just chilling has honestly been the best month of my life, probably. Just so fun, just not having fake people around you all the time. It's been great. And I was like at the hospital at first, the first week, and they said, oh, you're faking it? No, I'm not. Why would I fake that? And yeah, I'm innocent. As I said, I'll be leaving social media everywhere. I'll just be on my own, like on YouTube and everything, so I really don't care.
Unfortunately, this turned out to be true, especially when you consider that the last upload on Weegeepie's main channel, which was uploaded on June 21st, 2025, had close to 800,000 views. Now, after his response video, Hushmush and other YouTubers released a video debunking every single part of Weegeepie's response. And from that moment on, Weegeepie tried to take down the allegation videos about him, including the debunking video, by either reporting them or filing copyright complaints. But Hushmush wasn't relenting. On May 13, 2024, he posted a thread on Twitter detailing how Weegeepie was actively dating another younger human identified as Saya, who was also defending him and ignoring all the accusations. Now, at this point, Weegeepie was no longer hiding. He admitted to dating Saya and constantly justified it himself whenever the accusations against him were brought up. Now, the accusers of Weegeepie actually took the issue to the French authorities, showing them a series of evidence. But according to them, the police refused to take actions, dismissing the case as an internet drama. And so on May 14, 2024, Resprune posted his last update on the scandal, as he officially pulled out of it after the French authorities refused to do anything, despite the evidence. In the emotional voice message attached, Resprune stated that the other YouTubers should not give up until justice was served, and Weegeepie faced the consequences for his actions. But slowly, the case faded out of the public attention, and Weegeepie continued to make videos on his main channel without facing any big consequences. But while this story was heartbreaking, the next one is even more horrifying, since it involves sending someone out of this world in the most brutal way.
A young woman has been charged with 9 offences, including murder, after a fatal house fire in the southeast.
Now, long ago, Super Mario was all about running, jumping, escaping, saving the princess, and everything fun. But little did anyone know that Super Mario could be dark, tragic, and horrific, until the game Mario the Music Box was created. A game that put players on the edge of their seats and really brings tension alive. Known as MTMB for short, the game was the brainchild of Jessica Cross Guzman, popularly known as Corpse Syndrome, one of the lead developers at Team Ari, an Australian game developing company. Fans of MTMB have long credited Corpse Syndrome for introducing them to Mario horror in 2015, but what they wouldn't realize until a decade later was that the real horror existed only in Corpse Syndrome's mind. On December 21st, 2025, Ognik, Corpse Syndrome's ex-partner, posted on Team Ari's Discord server, saying,
"Everyone, I didn't think this was something I would ever need to write or address in my life, but here we are. With a heavy heart, I regret to inform you that Corpse Syndrome, Jessica, is currently in custody. Here's the information I know, and the sequence of events that transpired on how the information was told to me/discovered. On Thursday at 1 AM, there was a house fire at her residence. One male was airlifted to hospital, whereas the other was taken to the hospital. Jessica was also taken, however with minor burns."
Ognik continued by explaining that he got to find out about the incident after Corpse Syndrome called his father to inform him that there had been a fire accident at her apartment. She then told Ognik's father that the fire broke out due to her losing her cool over a disagreement with one of her housemates, named Stuart Blair. At the time, Ognik and his father believed that all that was damaged and lost were probably just random items, and maybe the residence. But the next day, they soon found out from the news articles released about the case that certain people were hospitalized. There was no mention of Corpse Syndrome's dog, Link, or one of her housemates' daughter, who we'll call Pearl. Now, on the same day, a detective visited Ognik to interview him based on his previous relationship with Corpse Syndrome. And after the session, the detective informed Ognik that everyone involved in the incident was alive and getting treatment at the hospital, including Corpse Syndrome, who had only 7% of her body burnt. But at that point, Ognik already started getting concerned about Pearl and Link. Now, 2 days later, Ognik would then receive a call from Child Protection, assuring him that Pearl was okay. And to make things even better, he was also able to find out that Link left the house unscathed. But just when things were going well, Ognik would soon be informed that one of the men receiving treatment at the hospital had passed away, and that Corpse Syndrome could be charged with murder. At the end of the statement, Ognik then promised to post more updates on the server, and ended it with a request saying,
"I prefer if we keep this private for the time being. I'm planning on a public announcement once we have more things confirmed and in stone. I know some people have expressed leaving, and if you wish to do so, just let me know. Currently wanting to figure out the nicest way to go about doing that so people don't go bugging you. As for the future of where Ari is going and what's happening, there's some ideas brought up, but we can all figure things out."
Now, after this message from Ognik, members of the team started reaching out to him for details of the case and asking him questions to know more about the situation. He then responded to one of her DMs explaining that Corpse Syndrome herself didn't know that anyone has died, nor did she know about Pearl or Link's status. And although though she wasn't able to provide details on the short phone conversation they had, she was able to say a few things about how the fire had happened. According to Corpse Syndrome, she was having an argument with one of her housemates when she angrily threw alcohol at them without realizing that she was holding a firelighter. But as soon as she lost her control, she threw the firelighter at Stuart, accidentally burning him and the whole house. Immediately, Ognick started telling this information to everyone, and it became clear to the team members that he was talking about a deliberate action, while they initially thought that it was just an accident. This is because, of course, setting a person on fire takes steps and conscious decisions, which reduces the chance of it happening by accident to almost zero. And apart from that being a serious problem, the situation worsened with the fact that there's at least one other person at the scene of this crime who might end up being a witness. According to reports, a second man named Michael Slater, Pearl, and an unnamed 43-year-old woman were also in the house at the time of the blaze. And to make Corpse Syndrome's case even worse, she already confessed to setting Stuart on fire when she had the chance to call Ognick's father while in police custody. According to Ognick, while talking to Corpse Syndrome, he mentioned to her how horrible Pearl must feel and how traumatic it must be for her to know that she lost everything. And shockingly, Corpse Syndrome's response to that was that she'd gone through an even worse situation. Now, after Ognick's post, the fans of Team Ari on the main Discord server still remained in denial, not knowing what to believe and what to disregard. And because of the unanswered questions, one of Corpse Syndrome's friends, Signa's Able Eye, decided to create a document to share information revealed and hidden about the incident. In her document, she provided more information about the reason for the argument that Corpse Syndrome had with the housemate, leading to setting him ablaze. According to her, Stuart, who turned out to be Pearl's father, lived in the same house as Corpse Syndrome, and on December 18th, 2025, the day of the incident, Corpse Syndrome suddenly started to complain about Pearl leaving a mess around the house they lived in. And Stuart, who could no longer take Corpse Syndrome's snacks, went into a verbal war with her. But the whole situation actually remained controlled until Stuart looked Corpse Syndrome dead in the eye and said to her,
"At least I have a daughter."
This argument got Corpse Syndrome really angry, and so she grabbed the alcohol and a firelighter to threaten it. Now she claims she never meant to hurt it, but Stuart Blair ended up engulfed in flames and died from his injuries. Now at this time, Corpse Syndrome's fate wasn't known, but on January 3rd, 2026, she was officially charged with murder in addition to 6 other charges. And once the charges were made public, Team Ari responded by releasing a statement on their public Discord server, addressing the incident for the first time, saying,
"Hey Ed everyone, this is going to be the last update we post on the situation regarding Corpse Syndrome. There's been a lot, and quite recently a lot of details have been confirmed. The ownership has been transferred as mentioned in a previous message, so it's purely up to them. I think it's fair to say that everyone needs to just take a little breather to see what's going on. I also want to stress that no matter what the outcome is from court, Jessica is no longer going to be part of Team Ari. Her actions are unforgivable, and her justifications are too appalling to even consider her to be anywhere near here. We want to keep this as a safe and inclusive space. However, Jessica is not a safe or inclusive person. They will not return and they do not belong. They've already been and will stay permanently banned. I know a lot of you don't know how to feel or emotions are strong. Not many people deal with these types of feelings, and no one really knows what you're supposed to move through this. Take it one step at a time and let yourself heal."
However, after Team Ari released the information to the public, Signa came out with fresh new allegations against Corpse Syndrome. According to her, she once warned the team about Corpse Syndrome being inappropriate with one of the members of the server, who was a smaller human, and instead of condemning the act, the team simply ignored Signa. Signa then shared screenshots taken from Team Ari's public server on September 17, 2025 to back up her claims. In the images, Corpse Syndrome can be seen chatting with a member who was just years old, talking to them affectionately. Signa believes that this was inappropriate, so she reached out to Corpse Syndrome in her DM, saying,
"Hey, sorry to bother you. I've been looking at your exchanges with Yellow in your server, and I want to be honest in saying I think it's extremely inappropriate and borderline dangerous to be talking to them as intimately as this. I know you don't mean any harm, and you're not intending to do anything inappropriate, and I know you're in a relationship, but they are years old, and you're matching icons with them, calling them Pookie, and praising/telling them how much you love them. If you want to have them work on your project, that's fine, but this is extremely concerning."
She then proceeded to tell Corpse Syndrome that she'd reached out because she didn't want to assume anything, and to avoid misunderstanding from her end, she needed to hear from Corpse Syndrome that she was just anxious for nothing.
"Ah, I see. I'll try not to do this. I don't mean any harm. Since she started to call me Pookie, I figured it was a fun thing, but I'll stop. Thank you for letting me know. Jess, respectfully, how old are you? It's your responsibility as the adult to shut down that type of talk. Old. However, I'm unfortunately mentally stunted. Please keep the second part a secret. It's something I'm ashamed of, but I have age regression. However, I will do my best to not allow this. They also have a boyfriend too, so don't worry about us being in some sort of weird relationship."
But even after this conversation, Signa wasn't convinced, so she decided to dig further. This is because she and Corpse Syndrome are survivors of intimate violence as smaller humans, and she believes that it is common for those who experience this to later go on and do the same to others, which made her reach out to other members of the team about the situation. But they simply vouched for Corpse Syndrome, denying the possibility of such happening. And so, seeing that she was the only one who perceived Corpse Syndrome to be that type of person, she dropped the subject for the sake of her mental health. Now fast forward to December of 2025, when Signa found out about the fire incident, she got furious, thinking she was right about Corpse Syndrome all along. And although Signa admits that there's no connection between her suspicion and the fire incident, she clearly believes that she should have at least investigated the lack of boundaries between her and smaller humans on the Discord server. Now Signa decided to go silent after this, with no intention of posting about the situation anymore, but she soon found out about someone going around impersonating her and reposting the news articles. She then added screenshots showing the email address impersonating her to be signasableye@proton.me and clarified that she never uses Proton Mail as her mail domain, and also that she does not contact people via email unless it's about commissions. And this is the end of Signa's rant about Corpse Syndrome's case. But the major crime is still developing, as Corpse Syndrome is set to go to court in May of 2026. However, on January 19 this year, a YouTuber, Weegeepie, made a video about supporting the victim's family in every way, which shows that whether Corpse Syndrome tries to return or not, she's never gonna be accepted by the Super Mario community again.